So we're beginning to block in what we have in the elevation of the kitchen, and again, you can always look at your kitchen handouts for sizes and heights, cabinetry. We've got our backsplash space. We're going to have the height of the cabinets. We know that they project out about a foot or so, foot 1, foot 2, something like that. And then we know we want to have a little bit of a surround around the kitchen window, so I'll stop short by about 6 inches there, give it some frame, and there's a kick space. Now when you're looking at the side, you can see a little bit heavier line because this is the side elevation that jumps out at you further, so bring that weight up just a bit, a little heavier, and then it gets lighter down there. And then up here is the refrigerator that you'll see standing up. Maybe there's a refrigerator panel over here, and that might go up to 6 feet, 6 feet 8, something like that. Panel height could be built in, so it could be higher. I'll just give it some width and a little bit of projection for the face. Maybe like shade down to see what we've done. We've got base cabinets, and we'll begin to show the divisions. We've got the refrigerator, we've got the upper cabinets, we've got the upper cabinets across the soffit above here. We're going to have to show the hood for the range, and if you want to indicate the range there as a gas range, you could then, again, right above here, pick a height just to show that there's some burners up there, and that'll give you the sense of the range in elevation. So that'll project out. You see a little bit of line that projects out from the line of the cabinetry. You can see its little edge, and then it's going to have its angle going back. Maybe it's 45, maybe it's whatever. That's a design decision. But you can just etch it in the elevation here. And we look back what we have: kitchen, range, hood. This will be the sink. There'll be cabinets here, refrigerator, upper cabinets, range. We've got the frame. So we could begin to flesh that out a little bit. We know that it's a double hung window. So we'll draw the frame of the window, the lower sash, the upper sash, the meeting rail that meets in the middle. And you see in this, you're seeing how the sashes of the windows work. We even show that you've got like a little sash button, but you've got the lower sash in front of the upper sash. So that's why you see the frame in the lower sash complete and the upper sash is behind that. So that sets it in place. We're now looking at the divisions of the cabinetry, and it can be almost on 24 cabinet centers like that. Our sink is in the middle, so we look at how the sink works. If you wanted to indicate in the elevation where the sink is, you can always kind of dash that in. So behind there is the sink, and the sinks are usually like about 8 or 9 inches deep. You'll see the faucet in the elevation. So a little bit of a line for just the way the faucet works. And then maybe that little extra for how the handle's going. And then we've got our cabinetry here. And you can divide that up any way. 2-foot panels. They only go down to the kick space. You've got to have a 4-inch high kick space there. So maybe the way we divide that up is we've got the doors for the little panels here, in the corner. They come out at the corners. Maybe we have that 2-foot panel split in the middle for the sink. So the sink has its own cabinet. And then on either side of that is the series of drawers, the essential drawers that you always need. And then you divide that cabinetry up into doors and cabinets. So you have some apron here, and then the doors that'll open for the corner. So now you have that lower cabinets. Since it's small enough scale, I wouldn't bother with all the dashed lines indicate how it's operating, but you can put hardware lines in there that can kind of give it some indication about how they're being used. You know, even though they may have finger poles, you can begin to get something about how this is working. So that'll tell you something about the cabinetry operation. And then at a glance, you pretty much get a sense of the kitchen cabinets down below there. And the same thing for up above. You just heavy up the lines a little bit so you know what's in what plane. And heavy up, we have the lines popping out. And I'll give you a little bit of a sense of the kitchen, where you've got your countertop coming out. You know that's a countertop for the range because it's there. You know you've got your sink over here underneath the window. You got the doors that open at cabinets underneath the sink. You can kind of see the sink dotted in here. You got a rows of drawers for all your little tools and such. You've got your little cabinets down below that open out. You can see how they pull out without having to have the dashed lines, which might just make the drawings too complex at this scale. But you have the pulls to let you know that that's how they operate. Backsplash window, you can see that's a double hung window. You can see that there's a hood for the range above. You can see the wall cabinets that go up to the soffit here, and that this soffit is in front of this. We could probably erase this line right here and this line right here now, because they are soffits that you'll see in the side. You don't need to draw them. So use your erasing shield. You can get that line out, and it'll make the drawing a little bit more clear. So that helps in the kitchen. So now we can go back to the, we'll go back and we'll do the breakfast area to get that, to get the banquette we've drawn in here by this window, and then we'll put the windows in the section too. But we're going to go look at the windows for the dining area here. Now that we have most of the equipment and furnishings for the kitchen, go back into the dining room and do the same. We'll get the window and the window. Now the straight window, pretty easy. It's just pretty much like what we did here. We're going to have to get that mullion in here because there is a little mullion. It's two windows right here, so we'll get that and then we'll draw them up. But the challenge will be drawing the little diagonal, the skewed window there. Now we'll do the frame around. There's the frame around the window. Then we've got to get midway, since they'll figure that they're double hung windows. They could be casement windows. If they were casement windows, maybe we'd draw them with casements popping out. But let's say we've put all these in as double hungs. You can choose to use casements in your plan. But if it's double hung, we'll find the meeting rail, which is midway. The meeting rail overlaps. And then we have our 2-inch sash frames all around. So now that we have that, boom, lay that in. And you can just indicate a little line for a sash lock. And it'll give you the sense of that window being operating up and down as a double hung window. Now the thing is to translate that into the angled wall. Now I'm getting some fine lines. I know that this window is no longer flat. Here we're looking at it straight on perpendicular, but here we're looking on it at the angle. So we'll just pick up these same sash points, but they start a little bit further back. Here's the wall, dies into here. Here's the wall, dies into there. So that becomes the frame of the front. Frame of the front. And it has its thickness here. It has its thickness there. And then it dies back at the angle. The back part of it you won't see because it's hidden by this part of the wall. Whereas here you see the side jamb, here you're going to see one side of the jamb. You're not going to see the other side. So you have that frame and the thickness of that frame. And then the upper sash is set back just a tad behind the lower sash. Now we've got basically the elevation of the dining room interior, the bay window. The thing we're going to have is obviously a base molding. You'll see some of that molding around here. We can carry that right across, and that can carry across into the room as well. And now we're going to set up this. These are the bookcases that we'll be seeing. So we'll look into the bookcase. We've got the fireplace wall, and we'll make those bookcases have a line of cabinetry down below, which is pretty much about the sill height of the window. So we'll get that in there. And we'll have cabinets up above, like wall, almost like soffit for the top, right about where the head would be. So we've got a little bit of frame all the way around, the fireplace here. And then the rest will be shelving. We'll have the little bookshelves in there, in which case we'll just see two tight lines for each of those shelves. So we'll probably have 4 shelves. Let's see if we could divide that up into 4. So let's see what it measures. Obviously it's the same height as the window, which is 6 feet, so that'll be every 1.5 will be division. So we'll have 3 as 1, and then 1.5, 4.5. So there'll be our division for the shelf. I'd like to show some thickness, so they're usually like about 3/4 or an inch, and I'm pretty tight to here, so maybe I'll sharpen that point to get that finer line. I just draw the line around, so I got that little framework. As a matter of fact, we might want these cabinet doors up and below to have a raised panel configuration. You can just draw that panel configuration in there. Okay, so now we're just framing out. You're going to build up some of the textures, details of your elevation. Ceiling molding there, but what we'll do in here is we'll try to find a mirror that we can put over the mantel that might fit in the space. Thinking about size. What space you have left, you might find some design, another artwork or something like that. Try to get it to be centered. You might have to measure that. Remember, our measuring technique was find the center of the area. If you want to do a quick graphic of that. Just connect the diagonals. Then you have the center, and then you can line up your axes. So now you have the great room. I'll show the little wall that's in elevation here. And then the upper part of the wall that's in section, fireplace. If you want to show a little bit of texture, like maybe you have like some stone in the surround, you can show with texture lines a little bit of tile or mosaic or whatever that may be, just to give it that touch in there. You don't have to do the whole thing, but you can do some beginning parts. You know, the grid of your tile, whatever your treatment would be. You give it, just like we did with the flooring pattern, a little bit of an idea, and then a few indications. Let it fade out, and then you're describing a little bit of the texture without going everywhere. So you've got the great room, fireplace, cabinets. Would have had a little ceiling molding in there. We're going to bring that down, but that still works as the idea. We can actually show some ceiling molding in here. It's small scale, but let's say there were ceiling molding in here. You'd see it through here, and you'd see the framework in section as you're cutting through. That might be the line of the ceiling molding, and then you'd see a couple lines as it goes across, and you'd see that line really follow the line of the trim wherever it breaks back. And even in here it's a little bit less because it's on the angle, but it's still following the framework. So it goes in, and that would be line of ceiling molding in the dining area. And then back to the kitchen. And the last thing we want to get in the kitchen would be this banquette where we're sitting. So we might get another profile of the banquette right here at the window. If you want to draw that window in, it's just like drawing it in plan, more or less, but in section. The other thing is we have this other bit of window to draw in the canted elevation at the bay over here. We can take those lines right from our section window, however, so we'll draw the section in, and you'll see how that works. So you've got the head, the sill, very small scale. It's hard to show like the operation of a double hung in section, but normally we'll just show some meeting rail right here at the middle, 6 foot, so at 3 foot you have a meeting rail for both sides. This kind of detail is something you would normally see at, you know, greater than 1/4 inch, 3/8 or half or something like that. But it'll give you the sense of how this is really working as a double hung, where the window down below is in front of the window up above, the upper sash to the exterior, and the lower sash is to the interior. Lower sash, upper sash, lower sash, upper sash, lower sash in front, upper sash behind. Now we're going to draw that in this bay window here in the same way. Pick up the meeting rail. Goes here. And it follows down right here because it's at an angle. And we have the sill carrying across and dining around, but we'll keep that simple here and just show the the walls and the base molding that wraps around. A little bit of lines just to give it its actual picture. Larger scale, you might have more detail. Dining area, framed opening into the kitchen. We've got our seating area shown in here. We have room for our name and our scale, our graphic scale. No north arrow, obviously it's a section elevation, section showing the elevation with our little furniture in it, and you can add more furniture. You just have to decide where you obscure. It's okay to obscure to show things that are in front. In our case, we're cutting like right through this seating area. We want to see how the seating area relates to this bay window, so we kind of showed it all together, the bay window seat, the banquette, the table, the little chairs next to that, and how it like lines up with the kitchen, the window, the cabinets, base cabinets. We didn't do so much in laying that out at the dining room, but we have all the windows there, and you could do the same level of laying that in, but we want to show you how this thing is operating so you get a sense of the bay window for the dining room. And the same as we go for the living room, we get to see all the cabinetry laid in and the fireplace surround as well. You can add other bits of information as you wish. Fire screens, you know, you can put in books, bibelot in the cabinet to give it a sense of life. But this is the basic structure to like translate through the overlay method of the furniture plan into the section elevation showing the furniture and the equipment. So you can relate pretty immediately the plan view and the section view, or the elevation view. In this case, we'll call it the section elevation. And we have that space right in here. We'll use our same bubble there. And just to get that to fit, to find the height of that, we'll just draw that in like that. We have it at the same scale. We call this the scale of 3/16. And because it's an elevation, a section elevation, we won't have a north arrow. We'll just have a graphic scale. And because it's a section as well as an elevation, we'll call it a section elevation. Sometimes it's referred to just as an elevation, including the section, but we cut the section and we drew the elevation, so we'll call it a section elevation. And we'll indicate that we're showing furniture, so it'll be a furniture section elevation, even though we excluded some furniture. You can always go through that same process. Layering on information. So in here, where was like a lot of information of the cabinetry, we still brought out the furniture in front of it, so you get a sense of their relationship. This is drawing 1. It'll be the next sheet number, so the drawing is number 1 again, and the sheet number will be the one after our furniture plan. And if you want to just draw the graphic scale below it, we'll just add that graphic scale below it. So even though it's not a plan, we'll still refer to the graphic scale. It helps set the tone for when it's enlarged or reduced when you scan it in. So it'll be measured. So you just tack that over there. We'll look at the dimensions again. 0, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. I think we'll just go to 16. It seems like that's sufficient. 16 feet. Now you got the sense of the drawing with its dimensions, the major elements, the overall, intermediate. If there are any other little things you want to call out, you can call them out on the sheet, such as 6 inches or 4 inches for your molding, other pertinent information, but this is enough. And then you're all set. You just heavy up your lines for whatever needs to pop out once you start getting all of your line weights in from your furniture. Then you make sure that your section weight line still reads, still pops out from all the other line work. And there you have your furniture section elevation as an overlay construction based on the furniture plan. So you'll do that next week, and we'll see you at week 13.